All right, I'll go ahead and get started here. Xavier loses a heartbreaker right there to Georgia at the very end. It looked like the Musketeers were going to be able to finish that one off, but a late three from Georgia means that the Bulldogs are moving on to play in the Charleston Classic title game, a 78-77 win for Georgia. Xavier finished 2 for their last 11 from the field. Musketeers, I mean, look, they were able to overcome some of that really strong play in the paint. Georgia only out-rebounded Xavier by 1, 43-42. Defensively, it was 33-27. Xavier actually grabbed 15 offensive rebounds to Georgia's 10 and outscored Georgia in second chance points 15-12. I will say it. This was a surprising performance to me for Xavier in the sense of the longevity of this effort. I loved what I saw from Xavier for the first 15 minutes. Then you saw what happened at the end of the first half, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, can you come out of the second half or out of halftime and into the second half, and can you overcome what happened against Iowa, where the Hawkeyes just put their foot on the gas the entire time? First of all, I do want to say, if you could give me a thumbs up in the chat that you can hear me, that'd be great. I know the audio might be a little bit weird. I'll say it. I'm simul streaming this on YouTube as well. So if you want to go watch this later on YouTube, you can do that. But if you could just make sure, if I could just make sure that you all can hear me, that would be great. All right, I see it. All right, we're gonna get right into calls here. Um, Holden, go ahead. Oh, well, you were there. You were there, and now you aren't. If anybody does want to call in, go ahead. The phone lines are open. Holden was there for a minute. I think he's going to leave and come back. But Xavier losing by 1 in Charleston in a game that felt very, very winnable down the stretch. It's one of those things where, Georgia, a team under Mike White, always rebounds the ball exceptionally well. They play very well in the paint. They outscored Xavier in the 40-30 tonight. So they're always a team that plays well around the basket. Hold on just a second. Always a team that plays well around the basket, but tonight, a team that quite simply, made the plays down the stretch. Oh, hold on. There we go. Probably lost me for a second. But again, yeah, it just look the way that Xavier shot the up. No, I see all the I see all the thumbs down. You have me back now. You have me back. You have me back. Yes, thumbs up. I wish the emojis in the chat translated into the recording because it's a great scene. But again, Xavier had four double figure scores tonight. I'd love to hear what you all think because this was a game that you're building on what happened against Iowa. You're building on what happened against Old Dominion, but you're trying to do it again against a high major opponent. Um, the game against Iowa ended up in a 19-point loss. You can say it felt different than what happened against Santa Clara, but it was still a 19-point loss. What happened tonight, a 1-point loss to Georgia on a night where they shot 2 for 16 from 3 in the second half. They only made 2 of their 16 threes in the second half, and one of the 2 was what ended up being the game winner. You can argue at the end, was that a foul? Was that not a foul? It's tough to call. Tough to call it like that at the very end. I don't think that's a one that gets called at the very end of the game. But it's a positive sign for Xavier. Very, very positive what happened tonight. You're seeing growth from players like Jovan Milicevic, who had 19. He was incredibly efficient, 7 for 14 from the floor, 5 for 9 from 3, 5 boards tonight. Didn't have an assist, had 3 turnovers, but just a really efficient night for Milicevic. And somebody, you look at the players that produced tonight, all right, and Jovan Milicevic combined for 36 points, 36 of Xavier's 77 points. And those are 2 players that you're hoping to build around going forward. They have multiple years of eligibility left. You're hoping that those guys are players that are further contributors to your program after just this year. Um, you know, didn't love the look that Xavier got in the end, if we're just calling it like it is. Didn't love that look. But Georgia, a really tough defensive team. The length and physicality of what they showed tonight. Xavier only had 6 players score in this game, and four players for Xavier scored 73 of their 77 points. 4 players scored 73 of Xavier's 77 points. Again, if anybody wants to call in, I got to get a couple of tweets out here. So if anybody wants to call in, you can save me here for just a second while I'm firing off a couple of tweets. But give me just a second. I'll hop back in. I know this is terrible radio, especially for all of you that are listening back to this later. I'm going to have to cut this out. One thing I will say, a great Xavier crowd tonight down in Charleston. Really great Xavier crowd. I remember back in 2019, the crowd that Xavier had at that Charleston Classic, and just a spectacular crowd for Xavier. And I would assume, it'll be just like that again. West Virginia, I thought West Virginia had a decent crowd tonight against Clemson. I didn't have the sound on for that game, but just, the crowd shots that they were showing. But again, going through the rest of this for Xavier, now you're going to play a West Virginia team that was beating Clemson for the majority of that game. I didn't see all of it, but from what I saw of that game against Clemson, West Virginia looked to be the aggressor. And West Virginia, they dropped it in the end, 70-67. It was Clemson. They went on a 13-2 run close to the end of the game. But West Virginia was up 61-55 with 6 minutes left, and then went on to lose. Dan, you got me?
I got you. You got me?
Yeah, I got you. Does my audio sound okay?
Yeah, it sounds great.
All right, go ahead.
Are we a zone team now?
I think we might have to be.
This is Mike Woods, and he tricked me. What? We ran a 2-3 zone. I'm not going to say anything bad about what Xavier did because I think they were really good at it and effective. Clearly, on offense, we were sticking with them, but.
Oh, there? Are we 0 for 2 tonight on callers finishing their call? You there, Dan? I think we might have lost Dan. Oh, we lost him. I'm sure he'll be back. I know he'll be back. But again, here we go. Xavier fan 29, you're up.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I disagree. I think the defense in the second half of the season was better. Maybe that's because of the lack of threes made. But I was just happy with the defense in the second half. I got a little excited. I'm really disappointed right now. The loss, but I'm proud of how the boys played. It's better. I had to sit through that Santa Clara game in the student section. That I really upset. Leaving early doesn't make me happy.
Yeah,
getting to watch a good game, start to finish. For the end of the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Look what Xavier was able to do there in the second half to hold Georgia to 2 for 16 from 3. It's a bummer that the one timely 3 comes at the worst possible time. But again, to me, when you're looking at Xavier this year, you're looking for signs. And what you saw tonight was a whole lot better than what you saw in the first 3 games of the season. And you're seeing it from people that are going to be here longer than 1 year. There were frustrating moments for sure. There were times where Georgia came flying in for a rebound or some guys didn't box out. I mean, at the end of the game, Xavier was 2 for their last 11 from the floor. There were frustrating moments, but at the same time, you got 36 combined points from a couple of guys that are going to be on your roster for a while. Did you have anything else there, Xavier fan?
Yeah, Paul. One more good player off the bench. Body's too hot and cold. One more solid, role player or something that kind of shows up. Not a huge fan of Walker, but someone that can put points on the board, and we're
The Big East is it's wide open, probably 5-11. If you've watched any of the Big East so far this season, if you've turned on your TV at all, outside of, and really you can make the argument 4-11 is wide open. I do think Creighton's going to figure it out, although Jackson McAndrew now out for the season. Saw that earlier today. Uh, you know, I, you could say 5 through 11 in this conference. I'm not saying Xavier's going to finish as high as 5, but 5 through 11 is right there for the taking. So, to be a competitive team in the Big East this year, can you consistently perform like you did tonight? And can you eliminate some of those little mistakes, bad shot selection at times? I mean, 4 air balls. There was a couple of moments down the stretch where some shots that weren't even close. Like those little things, if you can clean up, I mean, Xavier probably wins this game tonight if we're just calling it like it is. Ryan, go ahead. If you're there, Ryan, unmute yourself. Ryan, you're a speaker, Ryan, if you're there. No? Nothing? Nobody? I don't think this is on my end because Xavier fan 29 sounded great. We had Dan for a minute, then Dan backed out. So I don't think this is on my end, but it might be. All right, he's back out. But yeah, I mean, to the point about the Big East, I just think that there are opportunities this year for wins. And look, I said before the season, I said before the season when we were predicting the schedule, if you can go 1-1 in Charleston and give yourself a little bit of momentum going into the next couple of weeks, I mean, Xavier's going to have some chances here, and they'll have 2 bye games before the shootout. So if you can get one, if you can beat West Virginia will probably be about a 5-point favorite in that game. So it'll be a relatively close line. Ryan, go ahead. If you're there, unmute yourself.
Hey, Paul, can you hear me?
I got you now. What's going on, Ryan?
Hey, tough one. Thought we might be able to pull that one out. But I wanted to talk about Malik. I thought he was brought in to be a scorer, and he is really struggling putting the ball in the hoop. So just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on it. And
Yeah, I mean his shots aren't falling. I mean, you look tonight; he only made the 1 3, and I asked Richard Pitino about that the other night. I just asked him, "Hey, is this a situation with Malik where you feel like it's a system thing for him, or is this something where he's uncomfortable, whatever it is?" And he just he basically said that he wants Malik to keep shooting, and eventually the shots are going to fall. Malik was he was a 40% 3-point shooter 2 years ago. He was or 36%. He's averaged 40% over his last 3 seasons. So I think for me, he's getting decent shots. A lot of the shots aren't falling. I'm not overly concerned about him because I think he's a very smart player. I mean, you look at the rest of his line tonight: 6 boards, 3 assists, didn't turn the ball over, only fouled once. He's getting open looks and they're not falling, and he's been a college basketball player for long enough now that I think eventually they do start to fall.
no, that's fair. And I'm probably frustrated from the loss and his lines in terms of putting the ball in the hoop. The past couple of games, it's just we just need that one guy, that one guard. And All Right was fantastic tonight, and Roddy has been great. But it's like you have that one more guy tonight to help us out, and I think you pull it out. And I thought early on Malik would be that guy, and it doesn't look to be that way early on. I hope you're right, and he can start to score the ball more regularly. But just I don't know.
I think it's still too early for me to say anything overwhelming about Malik Messina Moore, just because I think he has enough behind him in his career that he can figure it out. And he had a great offseason, to me at least. I thought he had a great offseason leading into it. He played well in the first 2 games. Granted, it was low major opponents, but I still do think that going forward, I'm not as concerned about him, just simply because he's doing other things and the shots aren't falling. But that would be my take on him. If we get to a point now in mid-December where it's consistent, over the course of 7, 8, 9 games, that's a whole different conversation. But for right now, over the last 2 or 3, it's not as prone to me. We'll see what happens on Sunday with him.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, Paul. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for the call, Ryan. All right. Looking around college basketball, Cincinnati and Louisville tonight. Really fun one. Cincinnati had a great chance to win that game down at Heritage Bank Center tonight. Ryan Conwell was spectacular in the second half. Louisville goes on to win the game. Really fun atmosphere down there, too. Fans filled in well. Heard traffic getting into Cincinnati was terrible, I guess, coming north. So really fun game at Heritage that Louisville was able to win. That 6th-ranked Louisville and Cincinnati took them right down the wire. You could really say, I don't want to say Cincinnati should have won the game, but they were right there at the end of the game to win it up until the last few minutes when Louisville started to pull away. Looking at the screen right now, top-ranked Purdue up 25 on Texas Tech. Feast week really underway now, and it'll get going in a big way on Monday with the Players Era, but a lot of these 4-team events going. Hall of Fame Classic down there in the Bahamas going on right now, Baha Mar, of course, Charleston that you all were just watching. But the other point that you bring up there and talking about the Big East, eventually the Big East is going to start the Big East is going to start to need to pick up some wins here. There's no doubt. I mean, I don't think I'm as worried about the Big East as some other people. Butler got a great win today over an SEC team in South Carolina. I've been singing Butler's praises for a while now, the last couple of weeks. I watched the whole Butler game today. I thought they looked great against South Carolina, and Butler picks up a win for the Big East. But, just looking around at what the Big East is going to do, Georgetown will have opportunities next week. Georgetown and Dayton actually play each other on Thanksgiving night. So there are going to be opportunities for the Big East. But again, there's going to be a point in time here with the Big East where you're going to need to win some games, and some of these games have been close. Look at Dayton and Marquette the other night. Close. Marquette doesn't get the win. Xavier and Georgia, close. Xavier didn't get the win. Eventually, some of these results, and I think they will. I think they will eventually start to fall, in the Big East's favor. But at the start of the season, we'll just again call it like it is. They haven't. Nobody in the call queue right now, so I can keep running through some things from the Xavier game. I was down at Heritage Bank for the first half, got home by the start of the second half, so missed that last 5-minute segment in that first half, and I'm going to go back and rewatch, which is probably one of the more important segments of the game because that's where Xavier found themselves down by double digits as they went into the halftime break. Go ahead, Dontarius James Enjoyer. How about that? Go ahead.
Yeah, shout out Dontarius.
Yeah, shout out.
Really undervalued.
Yeah, shout out Dontarius. Go ahead.
I really had some confusion on how to evaluate this game just because of, the questionable shot selection from Georgia in the second half and their overall confusion with the zone, as well as just like where they're going to slot in. But my main point was really just a shout out to Phillip. He's somebody who I really had some frustration with to start the season, but I think tonight he really showed out defensively. Had a couple good possessions, had some crazy possessions, had that ridiculous dunk attempt, but was really impressed with him tonight. Just wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, Phillip, 2 different Xavier players had double-doubles tonight. Phillip had 12 points, 12 rebounds. Trey Carroll, 19 points, 10 boards. Yeah, the thing that I've said before on the show, I've said it on the Rebound Rundown, I've talked about it in a couple of different places, is that, and actually Richard Pitino was talking about it on Monday in his coach's show. Phillip, if you watched last year's New Mexico team, Phillip played a role on that team. He was a starter, but he played a very specific role, and he's a very cerebral guy. And the way he approaches the game, that he thinks about the game, he loves looking at the analytics. I mean, he's a basketball junkie, and to me, it felt like he kind of identified that somebody needed to step up on this team through the first few games. And I think he tried to shoulder too much of that load. He realized that somebody needed to do it, and he tried to do it too much. And now what we've seen in the last couple of games is that he's been able to take a step back, and he hasn't had to shoulder as much of that load, and he's just played more within his game. I'll tell you, I've never seen somebody give a shot fake and get opponents to bite like what Phillip does. I mean, I watched 10 years of Jay Wright basketball in the Big East, or however long Villanova was in the Big East with Jay Wright and those Xavier games that they'd play. And it didn't matter how many times you'd hear in practice, don't bite on the shot fake for Villanova. You were still going to bite because all of those Villanova guards were so exceptionally talented at getting you off your feet and blowing by you. Phillip gives a fake that I don't know how he even keeps the ball in his hand, and then all of a sudden he's by you. He's not the quickest guy. Kind of looks like he's playing in quicksand sometimes, but he's still able to get by you, and he can get to the rim. Sometimes, yeah, he might try to do a little too much, like that dunk tonight. But he has definitely come more into his own mold in the last couple of games.
Yeah, for sure. Sam Young type beat.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that was it. Have a good night, Paul.
Yeah, you too. Shout out to Ontarius. All right, Blabino, you're up.
Hi, Paul. Long-time listener, long-time caller, first-time Italian. So I wanted to feed off that comment about the conversation about Malik. Yeah, his shots really are not falling right now. But one thing it's really come apparent today, I really don't think anybody on this team has a better first step and gets at a hit better than Malik Messina Moore right now. So yeah, his shots are not falling, but he's creating so many other things for other people right now. He's still an intricate part of our offense.
I mean, I agree that, and that was kind of my point when I was talking about him, is that, Malik does everything else well, and right now the only thing he's not doing well, at least in my mind, is the ball's not actually going in the hoop. Other than that, I mean, he's distributing the ball well. He's always in the right place at the right time, to me at least. He's making the right plays. He's making the right decisions. He's a very high IQ player from how he looks on the court, and then tonight, I mean, he goes 1 for 8 from the field. It's been like that for Malik over the last week or so.
Today overall was like an inspiring effort. Like, things just seem different than what they did a week ago.
Well, I can tell you that the team had a very long week, and I've said this a couple of times. They had a very long week in between Santa Clara and Iowa, and I think you're seeing the fruits of that now over the last week since, where it can be all sunshine and roses in the preseason. And I know there had been a lot of talk about the Xavier team not having a ton of talent and maybe not being the Xavier team that, fans of this program are used to. All that, of course, the narrative of the offseason. But then you play the games, you squeak through the first 2 bye games. And Santa Clara comes in on that Monday night and punches you in the mouth. And you regroup, you go to Iowa, you still lose by 19, but at least the product looked better, even though you still ended up losing by 19. Then you come out, you score 99 points against Old Dominion, and that's a respectable Old Dominion team. They're probably not as good as we thought they were going to be in the preseason, but it's
better than Lemoyne.
They're a respectable team that will compete in their league, and Xavier was able to win that game by 30. And then you come out against Georgia, and a Georgia team that, was picked 14th out of 16 teams in the SEC, but a team that, is physical and that I thought, at least on paper, would give Xavier a ton of trouble because they're deep and they rebound really well and they're physical inside and they check a lot of boxes that Xavier struggles with. And so for Xavier to take that game right down the wire and literally have a shot to win it, again, I don't know how many games Xavier's going to win this year. I mean, Xavier, I don't know how many games they're going to win, but if they keep playing like they did tonight, this is not a situation, at least to me, where it feels like the whole bottom's going to fall out of everything.
Well, tonight I feel like we took one step toward getting out of the Big East power bottom category. Shout out Wet Richard Pitino for coming up with that, but we want to get out of that one. But so overall, the defense seemed to be all in one unit. We made plays when we needed to, and that's a good athletic Georgia team. Like, that is, I was kind of saying that Georgia team is the exact type of team that Richard Pitino wants to build here. long, athletic, going to play fast, got some shooters. They're going to block a lot of shots. Like I said, that's the team that they're a matchup problem for us. And Richard Pitino was able to make that adjustment, went to that zone and kind of took Georgia out of their offensive flow. And we looked like a competitive basketball team today.
Now,
like we can make some noise.
Yeah, Georgia going into this game, and I talked about it this morning on the Rebound Rundown. Georgia is one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country. They're the 8th best team in the country around the rim, but they're the 333rd best team, which means they're the 32nd worst in the country from three. I mean, they are downright terrible. And I tweeted it before the game. I talked about it on the rundown before the game. I was expecting at some point to see some sort of regression to the mean for Georgia offensively, and we saw that tonight. I mean, we knew that they were going to be a really good defensive team coming in just because of the athletes and the length that they have and their ability to block shots, their ability to grab offensive rebounds and extend possessions. You knew that was going to be a strength of the team. I mean, they held Maryland Eastern Shore in their second game of the season to 29 points. Georgia won that game 94-29. Think about that. 94-29. Maryland Eastern Shore only scored 12 points in the second half after scoring 17 in the first half. So we knew that Georgia was going to be a good defensive team, but their offense had been way ahead of where we thought it was going to be. And so because of that, you score 87 points in every game coming into this. I just kept thinking at some point it feels like Georgia might regress back to where we thought they could be coming into the year. And you saw that tonight. I mean, they didn't light the world on fire from three. They were 7 for 28 overall, but just 2 for 16 in the second half. And, Xavier had a chance.
I really thought we were going to take that when we were up with a minute left. Our last 2 possessions, we had 0 passes. And I think those 2 possessions were a huge difference maker. Granted, Phillips' last shot, it went in and out. I really would have liked this. I feel like if he would have gotten that ball and had it for 5 seconds instead of 20, then that shot goes in. And then All Right got a good look at the end. Probably could have got a little more on it. I wish we would have got a little better of a look, but we got the ball into our guy who had a hot hand. And really hard to be mad at how that game transpired, especially with the way that the first half ended. You'll see that later when you watch on film.
Yeah. I do want to go back. I didn't see anything of the last 4 minutes of the first half, so I'm going to go back and try and check that out here in a minute just to see, kind of what the difference was there. But, that's 2 high major games in a row now where Xavier's been competitive for the first 16 minutes and then let the last war of the first half slip away, and then that's been the difference in the game because, you think about that, you keep it close and you come out and you play the way you did in the second half, Xavier wins, but just weren't really able to overcome everything that happened there at the end of the first half. Anything else, Blabino?
That is all I have. Just let's not say any more things that can make Kyle happy.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you later. All right. If anybody else wants to call in, I think we've hit on a lot of what I wanted to talk about here on the show. Oh, no, there we go. I'll stay on for as long as people want to call in, but go ahead. Evil D'Artagnan, you're up.
All right, yeah. So, hey, Paul.
What's up, man?
In the call. Just wanted to talk about that second to last possession there at the end. Not really sure what Pitino was drawing up with just Phillip dribbling for 18 seconds. I mean, got a good look, but would like something better there. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I think anybody around the team would probably tell you that the end of game look was not the most ideal look that they could have gotten there at the end, especially coming out of a timeout, right? I mean,
it takes the full timeout and then just
you come out of a timeout, and then the shot that you end up with is kind of that little fadeaway thing in the corner, and then Trey Carroll, whether he got fouled or not. I mean, it looked like Richard Pitino. Actually, I'm reading Shelby's in the press conference, and looks like Richard just said a few minutes ago on the final play, the no call, he said, "I'm not going to get into it." So I would assume that Richard is not happy about what happened there at the end. But yeah, not a great last possession. Some youth showing on that last possession, and hopefully that's something, if they run into it again the rest of the season, that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, definitely. And then the other thing is just, you mentioned it earlier, but the closing out of half's just been horrendous all year.
Yeah, that's definitely become a concern that, what are you doing in that last war? Why does the last 4 minutes of the first half, why has that just been such a disaster? Is it something that you're running out of steam going into the half? Is it a rotational problem? I don't know. It's not like we have a huge sample size, but I mean, between Iowa and tonight, that's 2 games that have essentially been decided in one 4-minute segment.
Yeah, definitely a problem.
No, I mean they overcame it tonight. Not in the Iowa game.
Yes.
In the Iowa game, they didn't overcome it. Tonight they overcame it because they came back, they took the lead, they had the lead, and then gave it away at the very end. But I mean, if you mitigate that at the end of the first half, if you don't dig yourself into such a big hole, then the second half looks a whole lot different.
Yeah, I don't want it to sound like I'm hating on Pitino for like the bad end plays at the end there, but because he did a good job with that zone that really threw fits for Georgia, so that was good. But and like the resilience was definitely better this time than the Iowa game, so that's all good signs. But the Phillips shot, just 18 seconds of dribbling.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Definitely not.
All right, I appreciate you.
Yep, thank you.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna go to Doc here.
Hello there.
Hello, Doc. How are you tonight?
I'm great. I got 2 questions.
Okay.
One, are we going to get more from Moore? And is the Italian Stallion going to ever end up on the court?
Okay. Malik Moore, I think I've talked about that a lot now at this point, where, Malik is somebody that's doing everything but putting the ball in the basket right now. And I'm not overly concerned about him because I think he's had a long enough college career that he will be fine going forward. He just needs to see some shots fall. As far as Gabe Pizzato playing, we talked about it a lot. To an extent, I guess. Richard Pitino was asked about it the other night. Gabe was sick against Old Dominion. That's why he wasn't on the bench. But Richard was asked about it in the postgame press conference. The idea is still, can you get him healthy to a point in early January where, I'm sure Gabe wants to play. There are obviously other factors involved where you have an agent, you have, family, you have your own decision to make. It's not as easy as it always was, where if you're healthy, you're just going to go out there and play. I'm not saying he's not going to play at all, or I'm not saying that he's just going to, mail it in. I think there will come a point where, by early to mid-January, he's probably healthy enough to play. And at that point, does he decide to play and use the year this year? I have absolutely no idea, but all the signs and everything that Richard Pitino has said is that he's going to be healthy by the first or second week of January. And then from there, we'll see if he plays.
Yeah, I would concur with both your points on both of those issues. But as any Xavier fan that watched that game had to think, are we going to really come back against these guys? These guys are bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, they're deeper. And we still came back on them. I mean, if any Xavier fan has to be like, I'm believing in these teams. On this team, I love this Xavier team. This is so much fun. And you know what? I don't know about St. John's and UConn. Maybe we'll sneak up on them. But anybody else in the Big East, you better watch your ass.
Well,
the Musketeers are on the way to kick some of your butt.
I will tell you, Doc, and I said this a few callers ago. Outside of UConn and St. John's, it would not surprise me at all anything that happens in this conference 3 through 11. Really, now I'm not going to say that DePaul or Seton Hall is going to finish third. I'm not going to say that, Georgetown is going to finish last, because I think they're gearing up for a run to that 3 or 4 spot. Honestly, if you're going to sit here and tell me that Georgetown finishes third in the conference with the way they're playing right now, I wouldn't be shocked. But this is going to become a league where 3 through 11, anybody can win on any given night. I think St. John's and UConn are national championship contenders that are so clearly a step above the rest of the conference that it's hard to see those two teams dropping many games to 3 through 11. But the rest of the conference, Creighton looks banged up. They don't look like the team that we maybe thought they were going into the year. Butler has looked great. Georgetown has looked great. Marquette has looked way worse than a lot of people were projecting them to. I was pretty down on Marquette going into the year, and that's kind of bared itself out so far. But I think to your point, like if Xavier was to beat anybody, I say Xavier because that's the majority of the audience listening to this. But if anybody was to beat anybody 3 through 11, I think we say a lot of years that the conference is wide open, but man, this year more than some other years, it's more even.
You know what else is? If you've watched the last month of Xavier basketball, you have to believe in our coach to turn around what was going on in that Santa Clara game, and then to get to where they are now. That's coaching. That's pure coaching, building confidence, trusting guys, getting the mix right, getting the recipe right, and motivation. I am a big believer that we got the best young coach in the country. With that, I'll let you get out. I'll get out of here and go finish my root beer.
Well, I appreciate you, Doc, as always. One player in particular that I think has been given some confidence, and that he was only 5 for 16 from the floor tonight. I'll say it. I don't really mind it. It's all right. I really think that with the speed that All Right plays at, I love the way he's run the point. Now, he didn't have any assists either. The stats tonight don't really back up what I'm saying, but there's a certain kind of confidence and swagger that All Right has, and the way that he plays and the shot making that he can create, that I really, really like what I've seen from him now in the last couple of games. I know it wasn't the most efficient night tonight, and when you have the ball in your hands as much as he does, to finish without an assist is not ideal. But at the same time, I mean, Xavier coming into the game they had the second highest assist rate in the country, or at least coming in. I haven't seen all the everything updated today, but as of the other day, they had the second highest assist rate in the country, which means they had assisted on like 76% of their made shots. Tonight, they only assisted on 10 of 27. 10 of their 27 shots they assisted on tonight. I mean, that's not what we've seen from Xavier so far, and it's not what I would expect to see going forward. But the distribution wasn't there. I think Georgia did have a lot to do with that. But we'll see going forward if that is more of like what Xavier is, and maybe that assist rate was. I wouldn't expect it to stay at second all season, but stay in the top 50. All right, Doc. Anything else? Well, you went to go get his root beer, so I'll let Doc go there. But I've we've been on here for about a half hour now, 40 minutes. So if anybody has anything else, I'm happy to take the calls. I'll stay on here as long as you all want. But I don't have a ton else to talk about. Yeah, 40 minutes we've been on the show. Don't have a ton else to talk about here. I do want to give a quick shout out to the Rebound Rundown because I added the voicemail. I added the voicemail 330 rebound. If you want to leave a voicemail, I had one from Charleston tonight. It sounded like somebody was at a Xavier bar in Charleston before the game and left one. Have a few already on tap for Monday that I'll play on Monday's show. Had some great ones on today's show. So if you just dial it, it'll save into the inbox, and then I'll be able to play it on Monday's show. Again, that's 330 rebound. Somebody texted me today and said that sounded like a phone number that you call for therapy after a bad breakup. But be that like it was a number that I felt was appropriate for the show. So 330 rebound is the phone number that you all can call to leave a message that I can get to on Monday's show. If there's anything else, I'm going to sign off here. This recording will be available on Twitter. You can go back and listen to it. It'll also be available on YouTube if you want to go back and check it out. But again, Xavier loses tonight. They'll play again on Sunday. There'll be the afternoon game on Sunday, the late afternoon game, 3:30 on Sunday. It'll be about a half hour after the 1 o'clock game. So if that game goes long for whatever reason, that game will be between Georgia and Clemson. Xavier will play West Virginia on Sunday. That game will be at 3:30 on ESPN. West Virginia coming off their first loss of the season tonight. That was Clemson, and we'll see what Xavier and West Virginia have going up against each other on Sunday afternoon. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody, and I'll talk to you Monday on the Rebound Rundown.